I'm back with more journaling content. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you guys some prompts, some questions that you can ask yourself to get more into journaling if you are just starting or if you already know how to journal, some prompts ideas that you can ask yourself, you can ponder about, you can meditate, and I wrote them on my journal. And I'm going to tell you guys how this video is going to work. I made myself a coffee because right after this, I have to study for an exam. I have an exam tomorrow, so I need to study for that. So I made myself a coffee. I felt like drinking hot coffee. I don't know why. But anyways, so I have everything written down. This video is going to be separated in 4 categories, and each category will have different questions. General, it's not really focused on a certain topic. It's just to get to know yourself a little bit more, because it astonished me sometimes that I've found people that I could ask them the most simple question, like, what's your favorite food? They don't know how to answer because they don't know themselves. And it's genuinely sad. It's sad because what do you mean you don't know what your favorite color is? There's gonna be a second category, and that's gonna be self-love / romance. These are gonna be questions for self-love or romance, love related questions and things and questions that will touch that topic more in depth, and how you act, how you love, and all those kind of things. There's going to be a third category, and that's self-worth / self-growth. And that's going to be all about the person and accomplishments, how you value yourself, how you value others, including, because it's not just about what you think your worth is, but about what you think other people worth is. And there's going to be a fourth category, and that's going to be inner child, which is my favorite. I love my inner child. I love healing that part of me. And inner child, I think it's one, I don't want to say that, but I think it's one of the hardest things, depending, because there's people that have had wonderful childhood, no drama, no problems, but when it gets heavy and you have to work on your inner child, it's like it hits. Those are going to be the 4 categories. The questions are going to be in the description box, but I recommend you to stay on the video because I'm going to give you some tips on journaling, and also I'm going to be telling you basically what you're trying to look after when you're asking yourself this question. I don't know where I read this, but writing takes from 10 to 15 minutes. So then you can switch it up and you can start writing automatically. You're not even thinking when you start writing. And this is a type of meditation. Writing, reading, yoga, gardening, cooking, all of them are different types of meditation. And the thing with writing is that, the common movement to get hypnotized is like this. And you get hypnotized, we always see it on the movies, we always see it on internet, YouTube videos, whatever. So this movement, it's real, it's hypnotizing. And what happens when you're reading? You're constantly reading like this, and your eyes follow the lines, follow the letters. That's why sometimes when we read, we get sleepy. It's because reading is hypnotizing. Sometimes it happens that with certain books, we get super activated and we want to read and read and read and read. And sometimes we read certain things and it's like, oh, I don't want to read this. It's boring. But that's the thing, that reading is meditating. That's why it's so good for your brain, because you're meditating while you read. You do this with your eyes. It relaxes your body. It relaxes you. It makes you sleepy. It happens the same with writing. While you write, you're doing this, and your eyes follow. And what's happening is that you're meditating. And it takes from 10 to 15 minutes to actually start writing automatically. you're not even thinking, you're just writing because you are in this meditative state. You know, when they say that when you start meditating, at first it's difficult, it's uncomfortable, you can focus on the anchor. The anchor usually in meditating is the breathing. You're breathing in and out, you breathe in and out, that's your anchor. You grab it onto you. You leave your mind, you don't leave your body, you leave your mind. You relax, but you have this anchor with you that is connecting you to your body. Or while meditating, you can listen to the birds. That could be your anchor. Well, your anchor while writing are your thoughts. You're just writing, and the only anchor that is connecting you from your mind to this piece of paper is your thoughts. You're writing your thoughts. So at first, it can be a little bit uncomfortable. It can be a little bit weird to be writing. You feel unsafe. You feel weird to be writing your thoughts. You feel awkward. And I get it. But once the 10 to 15 minutes pass, everything will flow. And let it flow. Let it, like, write whatever you feel like writing. That's the best, because once you get to read it again, you are like, what? I never realized that I was thinking about this. Like, I never realized this pattern in my head. Anyways, I went a little bit off topic, but general. I always like to start with, what are you the most grateful for? It could be like, what am I the most grateful for today? What am I the most grateful for this week? What am I the most grateful for this year? You can be up to that, or like your entire life. And you can be as specific as you please. What makes me the happiest and what makes me sad? Again, be as specific as you want. Be as specific as you can. You can do a list if you want. If you feel more comfortable doing a list or just writing things down, whatever comes to your mind. This, and that makes me the happiest because explain like, then how are you as a person? And describe your personality. What do I believe in? With this, I want you to really focus on your beliefs. It could be a list too. Focus on your beliefs and also focus on noticing which beliefs are the ones that are limiting you. I believe in true love. I believe that I'm a hopeless romantic or whatever. But it could also be like, I believe that if I don't force myself to do something, I will not get what I want. That's a little bit limiting. So you can add the positive, but also try to add the negative, okay? And then write about your day. Again, be as specific as you can. What you did, how you felt, who you talked to. It's very interesting how writing about your day could really bring you so many realizations. Second category, it's self-love / romance. What a better way to start but with writing about love. It could be stories, opinions, or perceptions. How you feel about love? Like, what's your opinion about love? What's your take about love in this moment of time? How do you feel? Like, have you had romantic relationships? Write about love in general. What does love mean to you? How do you show love to the ones you love? Very important. How and when do you feel the most loved? Also very important question, and this goes hand in hand too with the types of love, but in this case is how you feel the most love. Like, do you feel the most love when someone gives you a gift, when someone hugs you, or when someone tells you, oh, I'm proud of you, a list of things you love about yourself. What are your best qualities? What do you love the most and why? It could be anything. It could be a person, it could be a family member, or it could be things in general. Like, I love coffee. I love coffee. What do I need to forgive myself for? Do I try to hide any parts of myself from others? And why? Great question. Now we're going to pass to the third category, and that's self-worth / self-growth. You could start writing about the last time you were disappointed on yourself. I find that disappointment really tells you a lot about yourself and about your past, because this feeling comes a lot with expectations, what type of expectations you have for others and what type of expectations you have for yourself. What boundaries do I need to set / are important for me? What past challenges or lessons have made me stronger. Maybe it's losing a significant other, a family member, a betrayal. Maybe you get cheated on. I don't know. It could be a lesson too. Try to observe it and to observe how you got out of it, how you feel in the moment, how you work it out, and how you get out of it. And how you see it afterwards. Like, do you see it as something that you did great, as a reward? Do you keep on feeling bad? Sometimes things happen and those things are lessons for us, and we still don't get it. We still don't get why they happen to us, and we're always like constantly feeling bad about those things when those things were good for us because they were lessons and we learned from them. What or who inspires me and why? What motivates me? It could be what motivates you in your goals, in your dreams, on your studies, your hobbies, whatever you're working in. What motivates you? What habits do I need to change and which ones I want to develop? What triggers me the most? This one is very important. Everything comes with something. I realize everything comes with something. Triggering, I find it very related to anger. If something triggers you, it's because it's a problem. Like, there's something in you that, like, if it triggers you, it's for a reason. How have I changed in the last year? So the fourth category is inner child. I love working with inner child because you tend to have another perspective about your childhood until you actually pay attention. You remember your childhood, how your child self saw it, because your child self was the one living in it. But once you grow up and you start getting new perspectives about parenthood and about life in general, you start seeing your childhood as something different. It starts to turn a little bit more into, oh, well, I hated my parents back then, but once you see it with your new adult perspective or your grown up perspective, you start realizing that my parents weren't that bad. Like, I'm actually grateful that my parents didn't give me sugar when I was a kid. I'm grateful that my parents didn't buy me an iPad when I was a kid. Those kind of things, because once you actually sit down and write about your childhood and start seeing things, you can, with the inner child shadow work, with the inner child journaling, you connect with your inner child. So then your inner child is like writing everything that it remembers, and then when you read it with your adult perspective, grown up perspective, and you, as I said, you start realizing things that you didn't even realize before, because you weren't remembering childhood with your adult perspective, with your grown up perspective. You were remembering childhood like your child self did. So maybe you have hatred on you, maybe you feel sad, maybe you feel I don't know, abandoned, or it could be a lot of different things. But once you realize for example, you felt abandoned in your childhood, once you grow up you get to have a little bit more empathy for your parents. Maybe you felt alone because they left you alone at home, and but they didn't do it on purpose. Your mom had to go to work, your dad had to go to work, so they were doing it to take care of you, to give you food, to give you what you needed. So it's not really their problem. So that hate is sort of vanishes. And of course, trauma is trauma. It's going to be trauma, and things like that are things that are going to be with you for your entire life. You could hide those things. You can acknowledge them. You can hate on those things. You can act like nothing happened, but those things will always be with you, and it's your choice if you want to live with your problems in a sealed box, or if you want to live with your problems and remember them as something that happened to you, or live with them as an experience, or just to not have hatred on your past and on your inner child, because your inner child is not the problem. Your parents were not the problem, and that's how life it is. Your parents are also humans. You are a human too. So Of course there's errors, and of course there's things that happen that are not meant to happen, that are mean, or things that really impact, or things that really make an impact on us. uh, I get it that there's horrible things happening, and horrible things can happen to us too, but we don't need to see them as this negative thing. The past is in the past, and if it happens to us, if we had a bad experience in our childhood, well, we don't have another choice but to accept it and to learn how to live with it, to have sort of like a mental peace with our past, with our childhood, because we are our child self. We are our child. Our inner child is inside of us. So we're them, they're us, and we have to fusion the past and the present and whatever happened to us. And I always tell people to not see it as something negative. Like, if your childhood wasn't as great, to not try to see it as negative, because that's what shaped us. And yeah, I want you to start writing a letter to your 5, your 7, your 9-year-old self. What are you gonna do? Would you want to hug this child? Would you want to, like, I don't know, like, have some compassion for this child that is in front of you, and write this letter with all the love you have and all the love that this child deserves. If you could talk to your 7-year-old, your 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 14-year-old, it could be any age, what would you say / do? Again, it's not the same as the letter, and you're no longer talking with the child, you're talking to yourself about the child. So what would you say? How do you feel about that child now? Like, do you see things from a different perspective? You're grown up now, so see it differently. See it from every perspective. Like, see it from your parents' perspective, see it from your family, your brother, your sister perspective, because it involves more. Check on the things that were happening at the moment, your situations, how were they, and how that affected you as a child. Write about your childhood, the good and the bad. What do you remember about your childhood? What are the most significant moments you had when you were growing up? How do you remember your summers, your friends? Do you remember your old teachers? The food you used to eat? How did I perceive the world as a child compared to now, and what changed? What can you start doing today that will make your younger self proud? What activities did I love as a child, and how is that related to what I love to do now? That question is sort of related to the last one, but it's actually not. Because there's things that we used to love as a child, and we still do them. And for me, an example for this, it's cooking. Like, I loved to cook when I was a child, and I still enjoy it. Like, still, cooking is still a big part of me. What were those things that you really loved as a child that you still like now? Or if not, then what changed? Why? And the last question I have, what did my childhood me needed the most? Those are all the questions. They will be in the description box. I will be posting more journaling content if you want. I love to journal, and I really hope that this video really helps you, and I'm doing it with all my heart, because these are the things that have helped me to journal and to grow as a person, because journaling has just transformed me completely into a different person. I became more self-aware of what I am and the impact I have on others people's life with what I say and what I do. And I don't know. Yes, thank you so much for watching.